when Shimon and Yochai with his son came out from the cave where they'd been in hiding for 12 years, with no contact with any other human beings, maybe with Elijah the prophet, with other angels. So it would appear that that's when they were bound up closely with Hashem and the secret traditions that came from the age of the prophets and came through to some of the greatest transmitters of the oral tradition, as we explained. The great one amongst them in the previous generation was Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva recognized in his disciple, Rabbi Shimon, the one who could transmit not just the halachic traditions, the Agadic traditions, but also the Kabbalistic traditions. So when they came out, he came with his son out from this cave, and he saw people busying themselves with plowing, harvesting. So he said, use this phrase, Manichim Chai Olam, Oskim B'Chai Sha'ah. They leave aside busying themselves with the eternal world, the world of Torah, as we explained yesterday, and instead they deal with transient occupations that already deal with them a little bit, but they produce enough food sometimes for you to live, sometimes to give to others, but they strengthen the animalistic existence of the human being, and not the higher spiritual one, only indirectly. And it would appear, if we take this phrase and understand it more deeply, on a halachic level, because we should have one understand the Gemara well, we have to look at the parallel places where it's mentioned. So, although here we're dealing with like this unusual survival attitude, when they came back into the ordinary world from having existed in a more or less even angelic world, which can perhaps only be compared to some extent with how Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah on Har Sinai without food and drink, apparently also without sleep. So it doesn't begin with Shimon Yochai, this sort of existence. It was known at different levels, in the case of Moshe at a far higher level, in those ages. But now this phrase, they're leaving aside Chaye Olam, to visit themselves Chaye Sha'ah, is reflected in the famous halachic dispute, which the corollary of which goes on until today, is found in Brochus, Daf Lamed Hey on Beis, page 35b. There, Rabbi Chanin about Papa, he asked a contradiction in Pesukim. There's one verse mentioned the prophets where it says, I will take my grain as a sign, it means I will provide food for the people of Israel. Or the food will be provided for the nation from above, from Hashem. For the nations of the world will do the work, and the people of Israel can dedicate themselves to the Torah. And then it says another verse, Vasafta Ganecha, you say daily the Shema, you will gather your grain in its time. So it says, Kam bizman she'yisrael osim rotzono shel makom. When the people of Israel fulfill the will of God entirely, then Hashem will give them their produce from above. They won't have to toil if they fulfill the will of God. When we don't fulfill the will of God, then you have to do your own work. And then it brings the price, since with regard to learning Torah, it says, at the beginning of the book of Yeshua, the words of this Torah should never depart from your mouth. Just keep on learning, non-stop. I might have thought I might have taken these words literally and say you shouldn't stop learning. And leave the rest to Hashem. Talmud Lomar. So the pasuk says, "Vasafta deganecha, hinahek bahen minag derech eretz." Divrei Rabbi Shimon. It says no. You've got to serve Hashem, learn Torah, but it doesn't mean you've got to learn Torah non-stop. You've got to stop to do your plowing and your harvesting. Which is developed, you've got to follow the Eretz with Torah. That's the opinion of Rabbi Ishmael, one of the greatest of those who transmitted the Torah Sheba'al Peh. But Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, he asked him, he said, how can this be? Efsha Adam choresh b'shat charisha, zoreh b'shat zriya, v'kotzeh b'shat kitzira, v'dosh b'shat disha, v'zoreh b'shat aruach. What's going to happen? Torah mate aleha. What happens to the person? He's got to plow, end of the winter, he plows the fields. Then he's got to sow, and then after he sows, he's got to harvest. And after the harvest, he's got to do the threshing. And after working on the threshing floor, he's got to go and do the winnowing, where there's wind. And then he's got to do the grinding. So what's going to happen to his Torah? He's busy nearly all the time. So Torah will not survive. So we said, if Am Yisrael fulfill the will of Hashem, their work will be done by others. They'll be able to easily employ non-Jews to do all the work. They can do the work, person got a field, let them do all the work, and Hashem will see you've got enough money to pay them. After all, there's profit from their work. And you can learn Torah all the time. Your work will be done by others, because it says, the prophets, strange, when alien people arise, they're only too pleased to pass to your sheep and to plow and sow and harvest your fields, your crops. That's when the Am Yisrael fulfill the will of Hashem. When they don't fulfill the will of Hashem, then they have to do it themselves. Yep. So, on this debate, which goes on to today in different ways, the debate should you, as a person who's dedicated to Torah life, should your lifestyle become learning? And you get support from various sources, but concentrate on growing in Torah, of course doing chesed as well. Or should you follow the ideal of Torah in Derech Eretz together? And there are quite a few statements in the course of all the traditions of the sages, as reflected in the ethics of the fathers, more in the direction of Torah and Derech Eretz. So Ish Torah, Ish Derech Eretz. Im Ein Derech Eretz, Ein Torah. Also it says, Tov Torah im Melacha, Shikiyat Shnei Mashkach Davon. It's good to have the two together, because that's a better way to keep the sin. Many such phrases all the way through all the Tanaim. Seems to be more pick-up was intended for the made populace. Exceptional people are right in perhaps in following the way which is suggested here by whom? Shimon ben Yochai. He says what can happen to Torah. And the conclusion of the Gemara, the Amoraim, they say, Omar Abaya, Habe asu Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shmuel, Val to be Adam. Many people, they tried the way of Rabbi Shmuel, Torah with Derech Eretz, and it worked very well. No problems. They kept away from sin, they feel fulfilled, they became decent human beings, worked out the right balance. And they worked. Also be Adam, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, V'lo al Tabi Adam. But those who tried the method of Shimon ben Yochai frequently didn't work. What do you mean it didn't work? They tried it for a little while, and then they saw it's causing too many conflicts in the family. They have a family and children, they must support them. And the wife says, you must come from the Koil. You can't carry on just this Koil lifestyle. You've got to get a job. So it's happening today like that. Exactly like it says. Those who try Shimon ben Yochai, who says, just keep learning, never mind. It'll come to you one way or another. Hashem will see. Others will do the work that is needed to support the family. For example, let's pick the Rambam. Rambam is very keen on Torah and Derech Eretz. But still, until he was in his 30s, he just busied himself, or he also studied a lot of the sciences, because he thought, he understood that's part of Torah, is to study, to understand the Torah deeply. It's together with deep understanding of the whole world, as you see. Torah learning can bring a person to know even the roots of many sciences more than the biggest professors. It happens today as well. So it's well known, for example, the Chazon Ish, he never went to school, as it were. He dedicated himself to Torah all the time. He was a brilliant mathematician, as you can see from his understanding of the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, where he goes into very many aspects of advanced mathematics, as you can see from the Sforim he wrote. He was a brilliant master of understanding neurology. And the biggest professors, they got diagrams from the Chazon Ish, how to make operations. That's what happened. Even they're going the same, all in that way. Because, deep Torah leads you to understanding thousands of things that the ordinary person has to work very hard to look up in all the latest scientific developments. So, but this is exceptional. People with exceptional minds also. Ordinary person, the way of Rabbi Shimon, it says that even those who tried the way of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai didn't work. It says, so this is, then the Gemara even describes different early generations, later generations, the same concept. So really the Gemara is here really presenting us with the situation of the Torah community today. Also the same thing. And in fact, there's a friend of ours, he's the head of the department to train Torah scholars to enter into different professions. He wrote a fantastic anthology not his own, anthology of the writings, right from the beginning, the Sugit and the Gemara until today, and on Torah and Melacha, how to fulfill it according to the words of the sages. So it's a very important subject for the future of Torah Jewry, and altogether get the right balance. And also we could say for the importance of the yeshivot to recognize the quality of their students, exceptional ones, or follow. Some go in the direction of Toratan Natam. Now the Gemara speaks all the way through in halachic questions of people at Toratan Natam, where their profession is Torah. It's used even today. In fact, the whole basis of there is not exemption from army service in Israel. What there is it's postponement of army service. That's the rule in the country. And the rule is, if someone is Toratan Natan, they can give postponement. If their occupation is really just Torah learning, they can get postponement. And that gives, so they include also people who are learning to become Shochtim, or learning to become Rabbonim or Dayonim. Then they go on classifying them as such until they take a profession which is important for the country. And therefore important, let's say, if it's a religious profession, they'll give them postponement. But even so, there are some who are not so keen to go into that. And if you want to go and learn, some of them today they have a special advanced positions. It's mainly in the highest level of computer science, in which many of those who are constantly learning, increasing all the quality of their mind, and working really seriously at it, they're probably the highest minds in the country. And therefore they do want to employ them, and they pay them a lot. You can go on learning, but also use your higher computer understanding in order to help the country. And they do. There's a special colony for them, as it were. So this is all a way of creating correct balance amongst Am Yisrael today, especially in Eretz Israel, of this concept. So I'm connecting this with where we left off yesterday, to understand that phrase. Because the same phrase is used here. Manichem et Chai Olam, Poskim b'Chai Sh'ah. They leave aside eternal life. Eternal life is Torah, which brings you into that. And they busy themselves with agriculture or some similar occupation that's used by Shimon Yochai. So this goes back, because Shimon Yochai had that policy before he went into the cave, before the Romans wanted to execute him. When they came out after 12 years, so 12 years in that environment, where in fact he had no possibility of derech eretz. There was no possibility of being busy with transit occupations, because then he would straight away be discovered of the Roman government. They would have executed him with torture. And as you saw, the only way for him is to be in complete seclusion. So he went to that place up in Pekian, and he had this miracle of the carob tree and the spring of water, 12 years just with his son alone, not seeing any other human being, not being involved in anything outside, only in that inner world of connection with Hashem, connection in the angelic world, connection maybe with the prophets, as Elijah appeared to, for sure. So he lived on that level. He comes out after this with his son. What did he see? And whilst he was there, we can now understand what it says in the Zohar. For those are the sort of things that went on with him, like happened at the day of his death also, that happened during these 12 years. Comes out and he sees ordinary people working in the fields. So what are they doing? These are Jews. Well, why are they busy themselves? They're so busy, so they can see they're busy some morning till night. On Inyore Derech Eretz, he couldn't understand it. Why did they leave it? So he looked at them with amazement, And his look, I suppose his look was very strong, in a way of enormous amazement why these human beings who carried such a holy soul, why they're forgetting about it. And he looked at them, and he looked like a zombie, of course. You see soon afterwards what happened. But, all his skin was cracked, all over, cracked skin. Probably there was no meat on his bones either. You see? So I suppose when people saw him, they fainted. It's one of the explanations. They just fainted. They became like a heap of bones, because he was just a heap of bones. A heap of bones staring at them with eyes. They thought these are ghosts from another world. So so divine voice came down, a bat call came down. Have you come to destroy my world? You think my world is that world in the cave? My world is this beautiful globe with beautiful products, with trees, with food, and with enjoyment. That's my world. Hashem's heavenly voice said that to them. You'd better go back to your cave for another full year to learn this lesson. And then he had to go back to the cave. And he learned the lesson. They said, look, it's not right. We've been here without the world of Hashem. The world of Hashem is our physical world. A world through which the souls of human beings go in a physical body. And you have got to look after your body. You couldn't look after your body. There's no way of doing it. You had to look after your body in a heavenly manner. Your body was sustained by your spiritual power entirely. But that's not for the everyday life. So what happens then afterwards, we'll see now. Go carry on with the story. We see that when they came out afterwards, they said, so the truth is, Elazar hadn't read the lesson yet properly. When he looked at people, they also fainted. But Shimon said, I've learned my lesson. I've got to do things like they do. I've got to be also in Derech Eretz, despite my high level, which I reached, perforce to save my life and save the life of his son also, because they were all under the threat of constant death with torture, like happened to Rabbi Akiva. But so he said, I mustn't go that way, and I've got to we've got to have our feet on the earth, even though our head is in heaven. So it carried on. He said, have you emerged from seclusion in order to destroy my world? That is my world, the world of God. So the two went and returned to the cave and dwelt there another 12 months, a full year. So they felt this year for us is, we say Kaddish for 11 months. Because the person who really needs atonement, full atonement in Gehenna, which is purification of the soul, is for a year. So they felt that going back to the cave, that's like going to Gehenna, to be purified from the sin of doing harm to ordinary people by looking at them in an antagonistic manner and bringing them to faint, maybe also to get such a shock that it killed them. You better not, but learn. It's a sinful approach to destroying the world of God. So they said, well, the judgment for wicked people is 12 months, so we've endured it another 12 months. Perhaps our sentence is expired now as well. So they came, the heavenly voice, and said, now you can emerge from your cave. So because, in any case, a new emperor of Rome came and was more friendly to the Jews, and the decree of execution had gone away from the heads of Rabbi Shimon and his son. So what happened? They came out. This time, every Rabbi Elazar would destroy something through the fiery gaze. So Rabbi Shimon, he would heal it straight away. And he said, my son, the world has had enough of total devotion to Torah learning for the 13 years. We have done our part. There's somebody in the world who lives on that high level of uninterrupted devotion to Torah, and also a very deep aspect of study of the Torah, which connects us with Hashem direct, there's enough. We are not allowed to hold any others to our standard of devotional intelligence. But to other people, we've got to look at them with a materialistic level, a derech eretz level, not a chai olam level. So at night began to fall, late Friday afternoon, Rabbi Shimon his son saw a certain old man who was clutching 2 bundles of myrtles, and he was running during twilight, and they asked him, "Where are you running to? Why do you have these 2 branches of myrtle?" He said to them, "It's for the honor of the Shabbat." So Rabbi Shimon said, "Well, would one not be enough, 1 bundle?" No, he said, 1 for Zachor and 1 for Shamor. So when he said that, he saw, look how cherished the mitzvah are to the Jewish people, to celebrate Shamor and Zachor separately. And then they were appeased. What lies behind this is this concept of the Shabbat. Now the Shabbat, it says Shamor and Zachor. I think what lies behind this is that really it says 6 days you should work. In Shabbat there's 2 aspects. One aspect is Zachor, which is to mention, remember the fantastic beauty of the Shabbat, positive mitzvot of Kiddush. That means Zachor is to use the material world to make Kiddush, to have good meals, to have nice clothes. What is it? It's using the product of the work you've done in the week in order to rejoice with it, with the Shabbat, which means rejoice for Hashem. We have an Oneg Shabbat. Oneg means the highest delight. And the highest delight of Shabbat is found and it's fulfilled through Kiddush, and you enjoy wine, enjoy good food, enjoy the Zemirot, enjoy nice clothes, house nights. In other words, using all the beauties of this world to serve Hashem. That's a very important aspect, and that's a very positive aspect, and that's the aspect of the Jewish people who fulfill Torah with derech eretz. They don't say, I'm learning. No. Even Shabbat. Yes, Shabbat you also learn. Also tefillah, a spiritual activity. But that is one part of Shabbat. And should desist from physical work. One part of Shabbat. Don't go and exercise the necessity to provide for your food on Shabbat itself. Don't work for it. So that's also part of learning Torah and looking aside from working. You don't work if you're in Torah. To some extent all the week, a person learns Torah all the week, they say, how can he fulfill the special mitzvah of working for the Shabbat, not working for the Shabbat? Yeah. So therefore they say, for him, perhaps he has to in fact change his style of learning. Otherwise he should learn something new on Shabbat in order to create. Otherwise there's no newness for him. But there's another newness for him, is on Shabbat you've got to use the material, whatever material world, so the person learning Torah all the week has been given to him free of charge and doesn't have to work for it. He's not been freed from the yoke of doing to go and work in the sweat of your brow. Because then he can have this, but he can have the product of work, which is the Kiddush wine. Yes. He didn't have to prepare it, he didn't have to work for it. It was given to him, the Kiddush wine. The meals were given to him. So that's the Zachor. So he also has to fulfill Zachor and Shamor. That's the deep lesson of the Zachor and Shamor for the person intended. It's a proof that Hashem is He wants there to be people who are in a situation not on the level of a Shimon and Yochai. Although they do need to be individuals to reach the high level, in order it shouldn't get lost. Understand, you can even say the Madrega of Adam HaRishon before the sin, and to have hope that might come in the future in certain ways. Now this is what happened afterwards. So that's why they said they were now appeased when they saw this. They understood, all right, they've got a special quality, but they should know it's not the quality for the most of jewelry. Quality is specific individuals. Now, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair is very famous in Jewish thought. Especially, he was a very great saint, great scholar. Some say he was the father-in-law of Shimon and Yochai, some say he was son-in-law, it's a question. And he's most well known for the classical ethical work is the Mesilat Yesharim, Moshe Chaim Mitzato, based on the famous brisa of Pinchas ben Yochai, who says, you can say it's today they have, to reach high levels, there's a 12-step program. What is this 12-step program towards saintliness and even Ruach HaKodesh, to get the Holy Spirit? It's what he declares. Mesilat Yesharim, you have it, each chapter. It says, first you've got learn Torah. From Torah you come to the hero, be careful, not doing wrong. From that you come to the resort, be energetic, enthusiastic, what you're doing. So they find the 12-step program of morality. Anyway, Pinchas ben Yair, his father-in-law, son-in-law of Shimon, he hadn't seen him for 13 years. And he heard he'd now emerged from hiding. So he went to greet him. He escorted, so he saw, look, he hadn't had a proper shower for 13 years. And it's what's happened to his body. He saw, escorted him to the bathhouse, and he saw, he massaged his flesh, he saw the whole of his body, there were cracks, cracked skin. And it was he saw how painful vestiges of years spent in the abrasive sand. So he began to cry. He cried and cried. And the tears trickled from his eyes and fell upon the cracks in Shimon's skin and caught him crouched in pain. So he said to him, his father-in-law, woe unto me to see you in this condition. So Shimon said, on the contrary, you should be happy you've seen me in this condition. But had you not seen me in such a condition, then you wouldn't have found such insight into Torah that Hashem has given me. But in those 12 years he got deepest insight into the spiritual deep aspect of the Torah. You can even look at it this way. The truth is that a person, let's say a person has learnt and has in his memory, he's got the whole of Shas, his memory. He's got a good memory. Then if he's left without the Beit HaMidrash, without Sfarim and so on, what can he do? If you should think over, he revises it, his memory should stay there. But obviously, he wills contemplation. We see even today, any person, as we do in our Shia, I must say, the merit of the student, of all of you, the merit of you, such questions, that you can take a few lines of the Gemara, and you know what it says, you know what Rashi says, and then you read out the other comments, you know. But if you look at it deeper, it needs time sometimes to think, use your mind, and go into it more deeply. You find in it things that by deep introspection you understand it much better. I'll give you an example from a person who's known as the founder of Eon learning, analytical learning, Chaim Brisk. Chaim Brisk, when he was Rosh Yeshiva, says that he spent the morning he spent on doing 8 pages of Gemara. Went over it. And the afternoon, he did 1/8 of the side of the Gemara. 1/8, not more, generally speaking. What was he doing? He was doing deep introspection. And he came up with certain principles called the Derech HaIyon, which can sometimes answer hundreds of questions. You go into it more deeply. So that's even on the halachic aspect. And if you go into the Agadot are much deeper. So you see the difference. Learn Agadah with Rashi, or learning it with a Maral. And learn with Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. You can take the Agadah and look at it much so deeply that you see the enormous spiritual wealth that's contained in it. So that's what they did there. He said, if you wouldn't find me in such a condition where I lived in the sand, you wouldn't have found me with such insight in the Torah. Because from the beginning, before he underwent seclusion in the cave, when Rabbi Shimon and Yochai would ask a question, then Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair would give 12 answers to this question. But when he came after the cave, then when Pinchas ben Yair asked a question, Shimon and Yochai, he would answer it with 24 possible answers. Because his introspection in the cave, even in the halachic aspects, he made it possible for him to give possible solutions to different questions. So Rabbi Shimon said, since a miracle is performed to rescue me, I'll go and remedy something for the community. He knew that's what he had to do. I've been rescued, and I'm beginning to think in self-centered terms. What's happened to me? I think about spirituality. No, I've got to work hard now to help the whole community. So he did many things, because it's written. He brings the proof. The proof from Yaakov Avinu. When Yaakov Avinu had his mystical experience with the angel, which was really also had to do with the spiritual power of Yaakov and the destructive inner power of Esav, which was given to him. And in a way, it was also a struggle between Yaakov's Yitzhak Tov and Yitzhak. So he didn't even know he would come alive from that struggle. It's got to do with the struggle of Am Yisrael with the opposing spirits that tried to block Am Yisrael from reaching the highest level of declaring God to be the ruler of the world. And instead, there's a power that wants to destroy God as the ruler of the world. It wants to say that the power of man will rule the world. And instead the power of love, the power of hatred, as we see today. That's all it was. So there he came out, Yaakov Avinu came out from that struggle limping. And now they had a weak point. Am Yisrael have a weak point. As they say, it's the devil. That's why he was limping. That's why until today we don't eat the hindquarter of the animals, because they contain the sinews of the thigh, which cause people of Israel to limp until today. Others, we are Yisrael. In principle, we should declare that God should rule the world, but we've got sections, each one of us, that makes it sometimes difficult for us to fulfill our mission of Kiddush Hashem, and certainly the nation as a whole has this problem. But Yaakov, when he came out from everything intact, and decided to also to do things. He came out shalem, complete, it says, with his possessions, complete in his body, and complete in his Torah also. So what did he do? He immediately did something for the community. Vayichan et pnei ha'ir. What's it mean? He introduced a high level economy. They made for them a coin that's coinage. The business should go better. And Shmuel said he made sure they had proper marketplaces, which they didn't have before. A bit of a rattle of how to buy and sell. So he made a central business area for them. And Rabbi Yochai said that he established bathhouses for them to better level of hygiene. So we find Yaakov showed his thanks to Hashem through a miracle by establishing benefits for the whole community. And Hashem Yochai did the same. Okay. So, any questions?
Yeah. People work on Shabbos, like waiters.
Yes.
So where's the shamor?
Well, shamor means you should not transgress any of the creative activities which you can do in the week. It does not mean to say you shouldn't go and help to have nice Shabbos meals. The waiters, Jewish waiters, they have to know all the halachot. They have to know all about which food can be served and how to serve it. Make sure there's no creative activity with certain halachot. But they're helping. There are plenty. The people who work most on Shabbat, as I used to say to my community, are the mohalim. The mohalim have to sometimes go very long distances. On one Shabbat sometimes they have to make 10 brit milas, which you do on Shabbat. And the rabbanim, they're unlikely to go from one shul to the other. But many rabbanim, who are rabbanim in places over a few shuls, go from one place to the next. I knew one quite close to him, when he was youngster. One of the most active rabbanim in England was Rabbi Dr. Schonfeld. What he did, he was the chief rabbi of many Orthodox communities. He used to walk many distances to give talks on one Shabbos, different place, which I also had to do when, even in Manchester, I had to do it. At a few shuls that didn't have a rabbi. In addition to my shul, I went to different places. I gave shiurim also to different groups. So it's the busiest working day of the week. And certainly when I had to go to speak at colleges and speak at communities on behalf of the yeshiva, to remember, I think sometimes in New York, I had to take walks over the bridge from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and in Los Angeles, from the Valley to the other areas, to Beverly Hills, quite long distances. So this is, I did also when I went with a group for Rabbonim, we went to Eilat for a rabbinical conference, many Rabbanim of Israel, and we stayed in a hotel, and we were all divided up to go and speak in different synagogues all over Eilat, some long distance. Any other questions?
Okay. This may be an elementary question. Olam Haba. The soul goes to Olam Haba. Whose soul goes to Olam Haba? Only Jews? Righteous Gentiles? What about an atheistic Jew? What about Sikhs, Muslims? Who earns the right, or who goes so, will go to Olam Haba?
It may be an elementary question, but it is a very, very deep and wide question. It requires a very deep and wide answer. So I'll have I'd be pleased to go into it. It's at the beginning of tomorrow's shir. So now it's no time left for it. If you're not here at the beginning, remind me to stop the shir at, let's say, the shir at least quarter past 10, so at least quarter of an hour, which is not really enough time to answer your question properly.
I'll be
We'll try.
Mr. Hashem will be here